Welcome to the Global Speaker Advantage, the #1 podcast where your voice goes beyond borders. Hosted by Oliver Shum, international speaker and coach, this show is for speakers ready to grow influence, land paid gigs, and make a global impact. Tune in every Tuesday and Friday weekly for insights, interviews, and strategies to help you thrive on the world stage. Let's go global.
Hey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, from wherever you're watching us. This exciting conversation that is about to happen. My name is Oliver Shaw, and whichever part of the world you're watching us from, be it from Africa, be it Asia, like Singapore, in America, North America, South America, of course, be it in Europe, just as you can, if you want to let us know which part of the world you're watching us from, that would be so fantastic. And of course, we would definitely give you a shout to let you know that we are actually with you live on this amazing platform in this environment. So with me today, someone that I respect so much, someone that I really, really admire, and he is not just a leader, he is an exceptional leader, and he walks the talk. He don't just talk the talk, he walks the talk. And this is someone that is touching lives of people, lives of young people, lives of adults, in the work that he does. And he is with us today to unleash some wisdom, some nuggets, some know-how, some counsel that I believe, because personally he has been a role model to me and a source of inspiration to me. And just imagine within this short time I've known him, if he could have touched my life this much, how much of this 1 hour we're going to be having together can happen. What impact can you get from this 1 hour we're going to be having together in your own life, in your own profession, in your own career? And this is no any other person, but the one and only Andrew Misuria, the CEO of the Kahuna Window Cleaning Company. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure.
to be here.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And Andy, it's such an honor for me to be with you on this platform. And we're actually launching something very big, a global platform, global show, live show. This time, I've been doing a lot of podcasts lately, and we are doing right now more of a live show where we can have a live audience and then bring in guests like you. And it's such an honor for us to be building the bones and the nuts, like the foundation of this show together today. So, sir, how do you feel being here, like being the first guest we're bringing for the live reality show, which most of our show audience they're online?
Well, it's a great honor. And it's been cool getting to learn about all the things that you're doing and the difference you're trying to make in the world.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation with your precious time. And, we are so grateful. So I want to dive into one of the questions that I intended to ask you. And so, what are the biggest lessons you learned lately, and what do you wish you knew before starting the Kahuna Window Cleaning Company?
That's a tough question to answer. I started Kahuna Window Cleaning when I was 14 years old.
Mm.
And so when I started the business, I had no intention of continuing to do it for much more than a year or two. All I was trying to do was earn enough money to buy a vehicle, get around and drive and go places with my friends.
Okay.
But I just kept going with it, and by the time I graduated high school, it's enough to keep me busy full time.
Mm-hmm.
But I still wouldn't really call it much of a business, but it was keeping me busy. And the money was okay for like, so that's what I kept doing. What I wish I knew before I started, there's not a whole lot that I can say. I just kind of learned things as I went along. I think that's the best way to learn things. And even if someone were to tell me all the mistakes that I was going to make along the way, that's to learn those mistakes and go through it. So you can learn from it, firsthand experience.
Okay. I love that. So you started the Kavuna Window Cleaning Services Company so many years ago at the age of 14. Like, what inspired you, like a young man at 14 years, instead of just seeing what your parents can provide for you to survive in the middle school, or maybe just doing McDonald's jobs like average young person would love to do? But this is you. You like, okay, you venture into something bigger, challenging, and more resourceful. What triggered you not just look at a job, but a bigger one?
There was definitely a moment that triggered me. It's an interesting story.
Okay.
I grew up the oldest of 6 kids in my family.
Oh.
So we had quite a large family. My parents always said that if we wanted to get a vehicle or insurance or to be able to get around, we would have to provide that for our home. So there's no way they were going to be buying each of us with a vehicle and insurance and all the expenses that go along with that. So I got a job working at a retail store. It was called Radio Shack, which they're no longer in existence anymore, but they sell like small electronics. This is 2007, 2008. So cell phones were just turning into smartphones at that time. I got a job there at 14, and my shifts were 3 hours long.
Oh, 3 hours.
And it was 3 days a week. And so my goal was just to save up enough money to buy a vehicle. When I would show up to work, I'd work 3 hours, which the wage at that time was $6.15 an hour. And so I wouldn't make a whole lot of money. But my parents would have to pick me up, drop me off, and then at the end of my shift, they had to drive back, pick me up, and then pick me up. And so we lived maybe 15 minutes outside town, so they would charge me a trip charge.
Oh, wow.
Every time to drop me off, and
Okay.
pick me up. And what I realized by the time I was done paying taxes and paying my parents to drop me off, I was making like $2 or $3 per trip.
Wow.
And so that was not enough money to save up and buy a vehicle. I realized this, and I was working really hard, and I was trying to do a good job. And one day, in walks this guy into our store, and he had a bucket and squeegee. But as soon as he came through the door, he had this like really nasty odor. He could smell really bad. But he just like really gruffly and abrasively said, "Hey, I'm here to clean your windows. It's only $20. Let me clean it." And my manager didn't really know how to say no, I guess. And so he just said, "Okay, you can clean the windows." And it took him 5 minutes, and the windows looked horrible. It looked like he just smeared mud everywhere. And by the time he finished, the windows looked worse. And my manager reached into the till and like gave him $20 to do on his way. And I saw that, and I said, I could absolutely do that and make $20 in 5 minutes. And make a lot more money. It would take a month at this rate. And so that's what gave me the idea. And since then, I just like a couple of weeks later, I had bought the tools from his Margaret and started going door to door, like that, offering my services. That's how it started.
And I'm very sure that you were able to make so much more money doing that door-to-door services online. What you were actually doing?
Maybe it was certainly, not at first. At first, I realized how difficult it was to actually get a customer going door to door.
Okay.
People either had their windows or they did it themselves, and I wasn't a great salesperson either. So me and my friend, I remember we spent all day just going door to door, and we got one sale.
Wow.
And it was like for $20, and it took us about an hour.
Wow.
And so at the end of the day, we just split the $20. We split $10. We went and had a Subway sandwich.
Okay.
And that was the first day. But we didn't make one connection there. The guy didn't hire us, but he did take our business card. And then years later, he followed up to see if we were still in business. And I was. And he's given us a lot of work since then. So even though on our first day, it kind of seemed like it wasn't worth our time or effort, we didn't make the connection there. And years just later started getting into business.
Mm.
And he's a builder. He's a home builder.
Mm.
And he gets us, over the years, he's probably given us over $100,000 in business.
Wow. It's a lot of lessons to learn here. First, let's trace it a little bit to what your parents did. Some kids already see that your parents were not too nice. They have been charging you for each ride they gave you, and you were earning that little, and they were still charging you. So, what do you think did that really shape your life, shape your career, shape your perspective about management and finances? That your parents would even charge you for driving you, and how did that affect your career?
Maybe. It's hard to say. And, it's tough to say if I was just entrepreneurial naturally or if my parents fostered that. I would say they certainly didn't discourage it at all. They were always, encouraging us to do things, try hard. If we had a hobby or something, they would encourage us to pursue it and all that. But like my parents always made sure like money was fair. So and money was earned. And so I kind of followed their example a lot in that way. Like I think it's important to be generous, but it's also important to understand that nothing is like even if you're a kid living at home, you're still not entitled to things that are outside of what you need. At least that was my experience growing up. Did that play a huge impact? I mean, it certainly led up to me starting a business, which had a huge impact. Right? But, I can't say that.
I got you. Somehow that really was a way to also train you to let you know that, like you said, nothing becomes easy. You have to pay for everything that you want. And I really see that happening in the lives of coaching. It's amazing. It's amazing. And look at it. You just shared something very powerful. The first day you went out to prospect because you wanted to do really good with your friend. And you passed the whole day. It was one single client you got that you cleaned kind of windows. They paid you $20. And you had to split that into two, pretend $10 and share it. You bought probably food to eat. But the intriguing thing is, you met somebody who you gave your business capital to that person. And some years later, the person called to find out if you're still in business. And look at what happened. Like today, the person is giving $100, $100,000 to just to execute. Now, what lesson did you learn from that experience? How, though you did not make much money as you thought maybe you were going to make for the first day, but there was a breakthrough that happened. But you need to show up for some time before it could manifest itself. Like we have a lot of young people who work with us now, who work with us after the show. And some get discouraged very fast. When they try the first time, second time, the third time, some don't even go to the second or third time. They just quit. So but this is you have been in the game for years. So what did you learn from that first day experience that you could actually share with the people working
on? I think it's very important when deciding what you want to do as a young person to understand that when you first start something, you are going to be pretty bad at it. That's okay. It doesn't mean you picked the wrong thing. It doesn't mean that you're no good at this. It just means that everyone, when they start something for the first time, they're just bad at it. That needs to be talked about, and that needs to be okay. When we train in brand new technicians, brand new window fitters for a team, we tell them you're going to be really bad at this at first, and that's okay. Your trainer is going to be very good at this. He's going to make it very easy. You're going to prepare yourself and say, well, This person is clearly meant to be a window cleaner. I'm clearly not. But what you have to keep in mind is you have to go through the period of time of not being very good at something. And then you just get a little better, a little better. If you stick to it long enough, you can become very good. But it's that painful part of not being very good that people don't really go through. And I had to go through that. And I'm still going through that in some aspects. In some ways, things are really difficult. But the more you do it, you have no choice but to get better if you stick with something long. And in that example of getting that or handing out that business card to that home builder, he knew I wasn't really good. Because he could tell I was just a 14, 15-year-old out there. But he did respect my effort. But what he knew was this person's probably not going to be doing this in a year or two. So let me follow up in a year or two if he's still doing what I know I'll have my guy. Because he liked it. So he did. That's what he did. He kept it around for a year. He called me in a year, and we've gotten all of his business ever since. He builds large townhome associations. And we always go in there and do the construction for him. We refer this to the townhome association that we use there. And we get a whole bunch of townhome associations. A referral. And so, if my buddy and I had stopped after day one, we would have never really experienced getting through that on the other side. And the thing about, it's important to be doing the things like that. But I don't think that's the most important. I think all things considered, just better to stick with anything. What it is less important than just the effort and the time you put into it. So everything is really fun and entertaining when it's a novel. But when that novelty wears off, things are less fun and exciting. If you stick to it long enough to get through it, then you become good at it. So you make it through that period, and then it becomes fun again. You're good at it. You're competent. You're making money. And so that's what I would encourage young people to do. Pick something that you know that you can do. Like, I'm not going to be, if I chose at a young age to be a brain surgeon or a rocket science, my life would have turned out way worse. I picked something that I knew I could do. I know I could do it. It's a very low bar. But if I do that really, really well, I'm 5% in the industry and become successful at that. So I think it's important to pick something within your skill set and then stick to that for a period of time, a long period of time. Get through the part where you're bad at it.
But okay. And look at it, this is the result of your longevity, your consistency, your focus, your patience, and above all, your determination to keep going despite the odds. And so you've been doing this for quite some time right now. Look at what comes to your mind when you think about determination, and how can people know that this is what they're good at? Because some people will just be jumping or experimenting every year. Before they notice, maybe they are 40 or 50, they are spend all the time experimenting. So, what was the condition you had that this window cleaning service was what I would love to do?
I don't know. I don't know for sure. The one thing, I knew that by the time I graduated high school, I knew how to do a skill that would earn me $18, $19. And in 2010, as an 18-year-old, that seemed better than any of my other options. So that's why I kept doing it. There was nothing inherently fun or exciting about window cleaning that I love, that I'm passionate about. I think I've learned to become passionate about certain aspects of it as I grew a company, and now I've got people that we hire and train, and even leaders in our company, and I'm passionate about growing leaders and leadership training. But I'm not passionate about the squeegeeing windows.
Okay.
And so,
Like residential.
yeah, so that's something to keep in mind too. If there's something that you know you can do and you know that you're good at, but like you're not passionate about the individual thing, like that needs to be okay. Okay.
Wonderful. Like, okay, how do you keep your team motivated and making sure that everyone aligns with the vision of Kahuna services? Like you are actually among the top. You're among the best, and the vision is actually to be the best. I think by now you're already the best. Window cleaning services in the Midwest, and I think this covers around 3 states: Minnesota, Iowa, maybe Oklahoma.
Sure. Yeah.
So you are actually the best now. Like you have contracts with universities, like state universities. How do you keep your team motivated to make sure that everyone aligns with the vision of that services?
I don't like the word motivate. I would say if I could, I would pick a different word there. But it's very important that our leadership always know what's in it for the technician, and we talk about that a lot. So I'm not trying to stand up in front of the team and give like that halftime speech to get them all motivated for the day. Our technicians show up to work. Sometimes they want to, and sometimes they don't. But they made a commitment to me, and they're all people of integrity, and they're going to show up on time. They're going to go out and do the thing that they said they were going to do, whether they feel like it or not. That being said, when we talk about our core values, and we have to make behavioral changes in the organization, we always try to figure out what it is that the technician really wants, and we always talk about that. So, for example, our technicians, we sat them down a couple of years ago, and we said, all right, take out the company, take out Andy, take out the customer, take out the team. What's in it for you guys as technicians to do a good job while you're at work? And believe it or not, technicians, workers, individuals, people, deep down, they do want to do a good job. No one wants the feeling of doing a poor job, even if it is maybe easier. And so we asked them, we said, all right, take out your boss, take out the company. Why do you want to do a good job for you? And at the end of the day, it's a feeling that they get of accomplishment. And so we try to tie into that anytime we're having a discussion with the team member that's maybe not performing up to standard, or we're having discussions about core values. So we even put a name on it. We labeled that feeling of job. And our technicians actually came up with the avatar of magician. So when they come to work, they feel like they're putting on a performance for the customer, like they are a magician. On the stage, they have their scripts. They're going to tell the audience, in that case, the customer, how they're going to perform their work. They do it. It's like magic. The dirt disappears, as it were. They leave the audience. Big round of applause, standing ovation. They're impressed, and so they like that. So when we say, "Hey, Johnny," we tell the customer that it's very important. Or we tell the customer we're going to be there at 8 o'clock. Johnny's late. Johnny shows up at the customer's house at 8:45. We say we can't be a magician if we're showing up late. give that the audience that experience, which in turn gives us the feeling of being able to put on a perfect performance. And Johnny wants to feel like a musician, and so we always talk in terms of what team members want. So, when it comes to core values and things like that, we would say, okay, the magician has to be mindful. The magician has to be able to adapt. The magician has to have grit. It's not always going to be easy. So, I would say that's how we kind of connect what needs to happen with, we align it with what the technician really wants. I think that's important for every relationship, not just managers and employees, but relationships too.
Yeah, that's really amazing. The analytical validation and how everybody actually immerses himself or herself into the full project, and they're giving the result with you. So I will discuss it. I will discuss it with a couple of established. I am very honored and fortunate to be one of them. So some say you should be a millionaire. Some say you should be this and that. Well, I don't want to get into whether you're a millionaire or not. So if this is the point, if everything is taken from you today, which that should never happen. So do you think that you can recreate everything from scratch?
Recreate everything from scratch. Yes, I would not want to.
Yeah.
This is a very different time to start a new business than what I did. Yeah, I could probably do it. It's been a very long time since I had to knock on doors. Now we have an address book with names and emails of like 30,000 people. And if we're slow 1 week, we just send out an email to like 1/5 of our list, and we have work for the next 2 weeks. But now, if I were starting a business today, like recreating it from scratch, there is a lot of people trying to do this. And they're going door to door, and they're advertising, having some success. But I don't think, I think anybody can start something because it's new, novel, and exciting. Anyone can work really hard for an extended period while it's fresh and exciting. Very exciting to start something. It's not so exciting to keep doing it after the form.
Yeah.
And so I know that I can recreate what I have because I know I can go from the point where it's now born, and I can keep going on. So I've built up the skills, I've built up the customer base. And I think most people don't, especially most young people don't. No, I am not one of those people that says the younger generation is less hard working. I hear that a lot from a lot of people, and I totally disagree. I think that young people are extremely hardworking. What they might not have is they might not have that ability to stick with something for a long period of time. And so that's what I see. I see very hard workers that go from work very hard in one thing and then work very hard in another thing, and work very hard in another thing, and never build up the skills to become very good. So they go from being a rookie to being a rookie, they're always going to be a rookie instead of putting in the time to become the best.
Wow. Let's talk about your experience in the military. Right. I think that really also contributed a lot to your success and to mindset of discipline and leadership. So what were some 3 lessons that stood out from you while you're in the military and are using that today in your leadership at that time?
I was in the National Guard. I started when I was in high school, basically just graduated. In 2010, I went through basic training. Immediately after basic training, I was deployed to Kuwait, and we did missions in Iraq. And so I basically spent 18 and 19 either in basic training or deployed overseas. I learned from my time in the military what I do not want in my home country. Now, I think there's a lot of great things about the military. In fact, my best friend joined the Army, had a very different experience than I did. But there were a lot of things that I learned from the military, and I would say all of them would be what not. So, unfortunately, the leadership in my organization were very much in it for themselves, which meant they use their leadership position to make their own job easier instead of making their team members' job easier. And so that was unfortunate to see. And it wasn't like that for every single leader on the team. There's very, very different. I would say the types of leaders that I had, I could give you a very good example of a great military leader, and that is my best friend, Nathan, who I actually started the company with. When he joined the military, I went guard, so that means you stay where you live, and you go to drill on the weekends, and you can keep a full-time job, but you can still deploy. He went full-time, but he lived on the base. He would live wherever they told him. That's kind of the difference between active duty and guard. So his leaders were very good. He's done a whole bunch of deployments. Now he's an extremely high-ranking person in the military in just a short period of time. But he's done everything. He's done multiple deployments. He's been a drill sergeant. He's done air assaults. He's done airborne. He jumped out of helicopters. He's jumped out of planes. And he's the kind of leader that you would want to have in the military, because he puts people first. He holds high standards and he holds people accountable. The rules are the rules. You're not going to break the rules, but very kind of him. The kind of person that inspires you to work for them. So I think there's a lot of good to be said about it. But just personally, it wasn't a great experience.
I like that. And so that was what that was a good perspective from you. So looking at your family, your parents, your wife, your date now. So how is your family helping to be a more effective leader in your company?
That's a good question. I've been very lucky to have, I'll start with my parents, very lucky to have encouragement and support. And I would oftentimes look at my friends' parents, and their parents were always very negative in the spirit. So me and my friend would maybe want to start something, whether it be a business or initiative and everything. Go for it. Oh, yeah. And then their parents would always be like, yeah, well, you might want to check this, They would kind of bring all the negatives to light. And they probably thought we would be helpful. But it just places a lot of doubt on the person that needs to do something that I do. So I think that my parents always encouraged that really goes a long way. Because you have an idea, you want to express it. Your parents bring positivity, and then you're even more excited about it. And then you try that thing. Maybe it doesn't work out perfectly, but you tried it, and you're either successful or you weren't with it. But it doesn't really matter whether or not your original idea reached its full potential or whatever. because you learn from that. You take what you learn and bring that to the next thing, and the next thing. We are always trying harder and harder things. Whereas if I had never tried that one thing, the likelihood of me trying something else goes down. The likelihood of trying something else. So I really like to see parents that are encouraging their kids to do difficult things, regardless of whether the idea is realistic. All right, moving on to my parents. My wife, Ellie, we started dating in 2020. We've been dating, 2014. So we've been together for over 10 years now. Married for 2. But when we first started dating, it was just me. My business. I didn't have much of a business. And there were some periods of time when we were dating, even living together, I was not making at all. And she was covering all of the expenses for a period of time. And we weren't even married at this point. And so she's definitely stuck through the ups and downs. There was a period of time where I didn't know if I could have a business immediately. Fortunately, stuck through that. And now we're on the other side of that. We don't have financial worries, but my time is extremely valuable, and she probably doesn't get the most amount of time. But she's doing the extra tasks around the house, taking care of the kid. I start my day pretty early. I work all day. I come home for a little bit, take care of our baby, I hand her off, and then I go back out and help out the night. And so we rarely see each other now. But she's sticking through me through this period in our life with the knowledge and expectation that we're going to get through it on the other side, and the time will be more abundant in the future. So my wife has a lot of faith. I like that. We've got a lot of faith, even though it's not something that is. It's not always evident that things are going to get better. It wasn't evident when we were having financial trouble that we were. It's not evident now that things are going to be easier, but there's a lot of faith in me and our business. And so that's really important. Find a partner that supports you in all of the other ways.
Yeah, wonderful. And this is so you are so hardworking, and you're hardworking a lot, and obviously you would do what you do in the office, and a lot of the brain work, the connection, the contacting, the complicated stuff that at times you only understand how to do yourself. But I was amazed, like being one of your staff, I happened to have the privilege to work with you overnight, and you got me blown away. You got me blown away. I will never forget that day. So I was like, I never knew that you were that strong, like that hardworking that I thought. So we went work overnight, and you were so dedicated in the job you were doing. And I was really amazed and impressed that you're doing this. Like, you're not just sending people in front and saying, hey, you guys, do this, do that. When you're there, doing it, you're there. That was so encouraging. And I saw some hard work. You're putting extra effort all days to make sure that things are done the right way, making deadlines and all that. So what actually inspired you to not just do your CEO's part of the job, like coordinate, but you have to go out to do to the least task that any other person will do in the field.
it's important to know first, I will not always be the person working overnights in the field, working with, 14, 15, 16 hours. This is just a short period of time. But it's also very important for me that I am fully willing to do anything that I'm asking somebody else to do. If I'm asking people to work 50, 55 hours a week to hit an important deadline for a big contract, I need to be willing to do that myself. And so for this short period of time, while we're trying to catch up, and it's a very seasonal business that we're in. So there's lots of ups and there's lots of slow times. So in this new contract that we're doing with overnights, it's important that I'm leading from the front, especially when it's something we've got these important deadlines. But there's a certain part of me that really just likes to work physically hard. And so there is part of me that really, really likes to do that. If I could, I would hire somebody else to do all of the technical, complicated office hiring and all that stuff. That's would take all my time, and I would love to do it.
But the law is there.
Yeah. The issue for me is I can't hire somebody to do that part because it requires me. So it's difficult to try to do both. I don't like looking at the field and trying to be on the phone with people and make decisions to do this. So ideally, I focus a lot of my time in the office. And overnights is when I kind of get an opportunity to work physically again. So I enjoy it. But I think it's important for our technicians to be, seeing the boss out there, working hard. It's kind of as a leader, and I tell our managers in our company all the time, hey, if you start coming in 5 minutes late, the entire team's going to start coming in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes late. So you can't give anyone any reason. If you let yourself slack off and everyone else is fine. So if you're taking longer breaks than you should as a leader, you can't say anything. So it's extremely important that managers and leaders are doing the hardest jobs. If they're building their routes, they need to be doing the longest drives, the hardest jobs, the longest days. And so, that's something that we discuss every time. It's very important to me. Maybe it's guilt that I have internally for having people out there working when I'm not working as well. It's very, very difficult for me when we had Mabry last November. Now she's 7 months. It was very difficult for me to leave work at 2 o'clock to go pick her up from daycare or to leave the babysitter when I still have all my team up. It was very difficult. Still. So maybe that's something internally that I need to work through. But I think it means a lot to the workers to see the boss out there working hard.
Yeah, that's true. Leading by example, servant leadership. So what does the future look like for Platinum? Do you plan to sell the company one day? What is your plan? What's the vision in 3 years' time?
Well, I'll still be doing it in 3 years. As long as we still have the country and become the way we expect it to. I'm way too young to be selling. There's no amount of money that I can sell it for that I'm happy with, to be honest. I've had a number of people reach out to me. There's a lot of private equity going into businesses in the service industry. I have no interest in selling. I don't even want to have a conversation. I don't even want to see the email or anything about it. But I am very competitive. So it's very likely that we're going to be doing a little bit more than a bit more next year, a little bit better. I have an app on my phone that tells us what percentage of revenue we're up or down. And I will make sure that we're always growing every single year. The company can only go up or go down. It's going to do one of those two. It's never going to stay level. So, yeah, I'm extremely competitive. So, I'm going to keep burning the candle at both ends. As long as possible. And just trying to beat last year's performance.
Yeah, I really noticed that on that. I really respect that competitive nature of you and getting things done, not doing excuses or any plenty excuses. There's a lot that's happening there in this country, the capital economy, like obviously, a lot of businesses are being good every day, like going is happening every single day. And you are actually one of them. Now, what I'm really blaming is I'm not something that right now under your leadership. And it is still it's only like every year you're kind of doubling the result and over. So how do you feel that you actually have maybe some people that they are making their daily livelihood from an idea you conceive? Does that give you some kind of fulfillment?
Yeah, and we have around 40 people on the table. So that includes a lot of people that probably haven't been that yet. Because we do overnights and that shifts, and we've got the high-rise division and the residential division, and all of our office staff that generally work remote. So, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, the question was, like, how do you feel? Like, I know you focus on 7 series of a feeling patient doesn't really inspire. So how do you feel with this result? 40 people in the field, like an idea, one man, a mission. How do you feel that this mission is making weight and taking impact on the lives of 40 people?
Sure. Well, I think I don't know about making waves in the lives of 40 people. I would say we're perhaps making waves in the lives of a few people that stick with our company for long enough to be good at it, but long enough to become a leader, long enough to be put in a position where they're making very good money doing what they want to do. For many of the people that this is kind of a stepping stone. So for a lot of our team members, they'll be with us for a year, maybe 2 years, and they're going to go on to their other career, either go to school or maybe they've graduated college and they're trying to find that perfect career fit, but they need some money in the meantime. So a lot of our workers are doing that. And so my goal for them is not to live their life in this way, but it's to give them an opportunity to be able to pay their bills, learn a trade that's going to be valuable to them in the future. And hopefully they learn from the way we run the company, our leadership style and philosophy. Hopefully they're treated well. Hopefully when they leave the company, they have a positive experience in the future. They keep us in mind for when they're successful business owners themselves or when they're running a company themselves. So I'm not trying to, I wouldn't say we're trying to impact people's lives necessarily, but we're trying to do something positive.
I love that. And so, as we close the purpose of the conversation, what are the three things you want every of the person that work with you to have at the back of each mind before they come to work every single day?
One thing that we really try to stress to our technicians, especially the new ones, is that they will have to stick with something before they come to that. Not going to be good at it right away. That's okay. But persistence pays. You get people to understand that. Number two, I think that if we could instill if we could help our technicians think about the customer experience and customer journey from their own perspective. Now, for our team that started this year, we haven't gotten into this a whole lot. We're starting from the basics, but we always talk about the customer journey, the customer experience from the customer's perspective. We oftentimes take for granted that the customer knows that we're good people. We're the people that get only 5-star reviews, nothing but great reviews from customers. However, as technicians, we can oftentimes assume that we're the best at customer like this. But when we discuss what is going through the customer's mind from the first phone call to the end of the job, they're actually worried about a lot more than we do. When we pull up, the customer is going to be sizing us up in a lot of the time. They're judging. Does this person have experience? Does this person know about my plans and how much they need to? And so, if we can discuss to our team members the importance of putting yourself in the shoes of the customer, their perspective, that's really important. That is a skill I think that's going to translate over to whatever they want to do. We've all had a bad experience with it. Service before. So that's number two. Number three, I just hope that we can lead by example. Just help people understand is what we're doing. What we're doing does make a positive impact on our customers, whether it be something small or it can still a service that the world might think is like less significant. You can still do it really, really well, and you can make a very big impact on someone's day. So, not taking that for granted, I think would be something that we can teach.
Along that, and Andrew, one last question before your parting words from this conversation. I know that you hardworking and the people in the team are pretty hardworking, as you're leading the example already. And we also believe in disruption. Disruption can happen at any time. And we have a lot of companies getting into this industry of indicating like every single month or year. And so what are you doing to maintain your position as leader? Like what are you doing to mitigate the low price in affect the company? What are the actions you put in place to ensure that the Kakula will be putting company to be the number one? Yes.
So you mentioned disruption, and that's something that we do think about on occasion. Like, what if someone invents a window that never gets dirty, or something like that? And And actually, my wife talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
What if someone invents that? Like, well, there's a lot of windows out there that still get dirty, and they're going to need to be replaced with the windows that stay clean. So we would just become the company that installs all those windows or puts the coating on or whatever. So in that way, it's important that like the business of business is the same. It doesn't matter if you're cleaning the windows, installing pouring concrete or whatever. Business of business is business. And that's customer service and employee retention and good marketing. All of those things that we know how to do, we need to swap out with the product that we're offering, which is honestly that's the least important.
Yeah.
All of the things that we talk about on a regular basis. So, yeah, we would just pivot if that kind of thing came up, and we still know how to do business really well.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge concern.
Okay, I like that. So from there, you're ready for innovation. You're ready for diversification if there is a need. Oh, I like that. So what are your parting words, Andy? Any last word for our audience? I'm going to be watching now, going to be watching after.
So if you're a young person and you're interested in starting a business, what I would say to you is you have to commit to it for an extended period of time. Let's say 10 years. And stick with it for 10 years. 10 years, if you put in all of the effort, you work with something, you have no choice but to adapt to that. And the success and the accolades and the money and the freedom, that all happens once you become the best 10% in that particular industry. So pick an industry that you're going to be happy with. Pick an industry that you don't mind spending the next 10 years in. Or pick a thing. And then just stick with it for a long period of time. That's my advice. My parting words.
I love that. And that's so inspiring. Oh, wow. We've got some people working from LinkedIn. Nice job. Awesome. Somebody's working from Cameroon. Nice. Thank you, Derek Group. Then we have another one, John Ray. Greetings, sir. Okay, nice. Okay, hash out to Gong Derek Group and to John Noel for watching. These are definitely entrepreneurs. They want to start their own businesses. And hope that even the people that are watching later on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook will definitely be able to grab some wisdom, knowledge that you worked out with them to leverage on that even as a builder business. And this means a lot to us in this platform like you coming to share your experience. It means a lot, and we sincerely appreciate and that you take the time to be here so we can launch this show together. And hopefully in the next session we'd love to have you again. This place will be full of people, so they will be having live audience asking you questions, that would be so cool. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Awesome.